I'm trying to bring the ice cream parlor because we're trying to push a town to the north. Alright, we woke up having a nightmare. That is inconvenient, but whatever. I don't actually care that much. Alright, let's open up our night sack, or night bag. And we want to try and keep it... Like, normally I don't like going over heavy exertion. Sorry, fairly heavy exertion. But for this trip, I am pushing my luck a little. Okay, so I can basically fill up my entire bag. That's fine. Yeah, those are gonna thaw. That's fine. I don't actually care about sadness. I just want the calories. Oh, that steak isn't frozen. Excellent. Did that give me enough for the dog food? No. Okay. So yeah, I don't actually like going around carrying this because if you notice, movement speed is reduced. That's one of the penalties it's going to do. You're also going to notice up here, this white bar here is my endurance. That's how much stamina I have left. That's going to drain while I'm at heavy load, as opposed to at fairly heavy load, it will recover very slowly. I'm okay with it, because I'm just going to eat meat patties and deal with it. Because I'm going to overeat slightly to give myself a little extra strength to carry stuff. But one of the times I will run is as I clear this area. I mean, not really here, but as I clear this main road I'm trying to go up here, I will run a little bit, but not much. Basically, I'll run to just use a little bit of endurance so I'm not quite full. That way I'm at least running a little bit to gain sprint and all that without actually putting myself in any kind of real danger. Another question I get quite often is, what's the best weapon type? What's my favorite weapon type? For doing 16x pop, what weapons do I prefer? And I would say there is not a hard meta. It isn't like this weapon is superior in any all circumstances, but there are some weapons that are very strong. Like spears are very strong. Yeah, just trying to give you useful information. But spears are very, very high damage, good attack speed, nice reach, but their durability is absolute hot garbage. So you poke like 2 zombies and it breaks. That said, if you get your maintenance skill up high enough, then spears will absolutely rock socks. Yep. Spears are one of the disputed metas. Another one that people would argue would be axes, because you have some of the best chances of one-shotting stuff with axes with any level of skill. But generally speaking, almost all the weapon types are in a good place right now, where it isn't like, oh, if you're using this weapon type, you've, doomed yourself or anything. They all have their niches, their places they shine. Like, a lot of people badmouth short blades. Short blades are some of my favorites, because they use almost no stamina, other than the meat cleaver. So when you're in a situation where you're like, oh, I'm right about to get exerted, you can switch to a short blade and just keep fighting till either you've broken all your short blades, the zombies are dead, or, your character gets sleepy. Versus if I'm using an axe, after like 10 or so swings, I'm exerted, and then my ability to fight for the day is pretty much crap until I get a break. Alright, we got migrations happening, so I'm going to back off, let the zombies do what they're doing. That way I don't get myself pinched into between multiple groups. Yeah, because if I would have pushed forward, that group would have swept across, and like 6 zombies is no big deal. But you never know when you're going to have like a group of 18 and a group of 18 crisscross over each other and you're in the center. And, like, not that you die, but suddenly you have no choice but to retreat. It becomes the whole thing. Nope, more migration. Take all of the notes you would like. One thing to keep in mind, and another thing going for the don't run thing, as long as you don't have something severely wrong with your character going on, you know, like they're super tired, super exerted, or super overburdened or whatever, you walk fast and the zombies move. So that's another reason why you don't need to run, you can just walk away. Now, that's not always true when I'm doing the 16x pop, because you can be in areas where the zombies are so densely packed. I mean, even then I walk away, it's just walking away is leaving town. The way these runs almost always start is loot the house you spawn in. Okay, now you're getting kicked out of town. Make your way through the hundreds of zombies. I don't like fighting in trees. But yeah, as you see, I've effectively taken the zombie I'm standing out of the fight. Dispatch the other zombie. And clean up. Yeah, I'm actually giving a whole bunch of tips. You want to just jump in on that leisure. Some other things is you can split pull zombies. It's well worth doing. So you notice I'm standing back. I let the zombies turn and see me. I back off. Make sure I'm clear behind me. And now instead of fighting 4 zombies, I'm fighting 2 zombies. Another thing is you never want to fight zombies this way from you. You always want them to be like single file Congo line to you. You want zombies to properly queue for their turn to die. Now you'll notice that blue zombie has been taken out of the fight because the green zombie's standing on it. And that's one of the big reasons you want them to single file, is because then if you knock one over, all of their friends will just walk over top of them. Generally speaking, you never want to just stand your ground and fight zombies. You want to backpedal, unless you've really got a reason not to. Because if I were to like just whiff a swing, a lot of times I can just walk out of the way. When you're hitting zombies on the ground, it does actually care where you're aiming. Not where your cursor is, but where your hit will be. So if I were to hit here, I just keep hitting them in the shins again and again and again. It'd take me forever to kill it. If I walk closer to the top, I'm going to bang him in the head and take care of him real fast. It's not like hyper precise on where the hits are. So like as long as you're like kind of in the upper third, that's good enough. Okay, I still got plenty of stamina. And I know I could switch to my crowbar. I'm just keeping this hammer out because the hammer's mostly broken, so I want to break it to get out of my inventory. If you turn respawn off, then yes. But by default, respawn is turned on. And the way respawn works by default is every 72 in-game hours, you'll get 10% of the population respawns within like whatever cells you killed zombies. Cell being a 300 by 300 grid. So, and it might be like the difference between that, what like the expected population is and what there is. Like I don't know the specifics, but it does regenerate a bunch of the zombies. And there's a bunch of rules about where they regenerate, how they regenerate, all that kind of stuff, but the point is they do keep coming back. And if you are playing like, for example, at this population, if I were to go to a high pop area with respawn on its default, it would be borderline impossible for me to outrun the respawn. I would just eventually get overwhelmed. And we've actually done that, unintentionally gone to a place and just had the zombies respawning at normal speed at a high pop and just tried to hold our ground. And we did well. We got a good number of months in, but we eventually had to abandon the location because I was doing nothing but fighting zombies and not doing stuff like getting food or water or anything. It's like, okay, I can keep fighting in hope, or I can take what little resources I have and use those resources to get to a better place, which is what we did in that run. Which ultimately didn't work out just from bad luck, though. So, the build I am running, I will preface by saying, it is not a good build. It is not a good build if you're a beginner. It is not a good build if you're advanced. It's just objectively not a good build. And that's because it's what I would refer to as a zero to hero build. in the sense that when you start the game, you are absolutely terrible. I start with literally nothing on the board, no fitness, no strength, no anything. But I get a whole lot of positive perks that are permanent. And then I slowly fix my character. It's not a good build, and the reason for it is you have to survive long enough to get those things up. And realistically, that's not going to happen the vast majority of your runs. And that isn't a comment of being like new. Even as an advanced player, you're not going to survive that long. Thank you for the follow, Leisure67. Welcome to the stream. Now, traits I would recommend is I would always recommend the trait Keen Hearing. And I'll show you that in a moment once I kill this zombie, because I don't want to aggro this group over here, so I want to get some distance. So I'm going to go smash this zombie's head in with a hammer. Oh, and the thing I told you about if you push a zombie, you probably are aggroed a second one, that's strictly with short blades. So if you look, I can see what's on this side of my screen in this light area. I can't see any zombies here. If there's a zombie right here, I don't know about it. So what Keen Hearing is, if you look at this circle behind me, that's simulating what your character can hear. So they don't actually have eyes in the back of their head. It's just, oh, I hear a zombie behind me. So Keen Hearing makes this circle bigger. As you can imagine, if I'm getting caught off guard by a zombie behind me and I get an extra half second to a second to react, that is huge for long-term survival. So Keen Hearing is the one trait I'd say, if you don't take anything else, try and make room for Keen Hearing. Gotcha. Hope you had some good time with The Walking Dead. Another good trait I would highly recommend is there is a trait called Lucky. Think of Lucky as just more loot. There's a whole mechanics around how specifically it works, like how it juggles how much and where you get loot and all that. Just don't worry about that part. It's just more loot. Just think of it as that. Like all the rest you can just ignore on that. Another one not to underestimate is Fast Learner. As I mentioned, most characters are not going to survive long enough to max out or do anything like that. So being able to train your skills 75% faster is really, really good for your survival. You heard what doesn't work on multiplayer. Lucky? Gotcha. I was not aware that Lucky did not work in multiplayer. That's a bummer. I mean, it makes sense, because otherwise I could look into a cabinet, and then someone else could look into a cabinet, and the loot would be different. Now, granted, it's kind of the same issue with Organized right now. Organized gives me more inventory space in cabinets and all that. So if I'm playing with someone who doesn't have it, and I fill up the cabinet, now, when someone else who doesn't have Organized goes and takes something out of the cabinet, they don't have the space to put it back in. And that can be just annoying to deal with. But yeah, those would be the three traits I would highly recommend more than anything else is Keen Hearing, Lucky, and Fast Learner. Because there isn't a situation those aren't good for you to have. Negatives get a lot more tricky. Because people have... this is one of the things I appreciate about the game. There isn't a clear, this is the best trait to take for positives and negatives. Positive Keen Hearing, I'd argue, is the uncontested winner. But for the negatives, it's much trickier. Some people be like, oh, that's free points, that's free points, that's free points. Most of the stuff people call free points would be like, no, they're not particularly costly points, but not free. Yes, the best negative is Sunday Driver, and I will go on the record on this channel and say I considered Sunday Driver a positive thing, not even considering the point count or anything. I would just say it's positive within itself. Oh sweet, we actually got here before the ice cream melted. I was not anticipating that actually going that way. Yes. By default, I believe it's after about 9 days the bodies will despawn. Okay. I'm just, none of this stuff needs to be frozen or anything. I'm just chucking in here so it's an easy one place to grab it. Yeah, that's the thing. It's like all the stuff that people go, oh, that's free points. It's like, well, it's free-ish. I would argue they're easy to manage points. Or easy to mitigate the negative points. Yeah, we'll keep that on us. Actually, we're gonna game dump more of this. Yeah. Yeah, so the bodies will disappear. I believe by default it's 9 days. So you can see these ones are skeletons. That means they're probably on their last day. Some people take the time to clean up their bodies. Lower pops, it's totally a viable thing to do. Because I'm running such absurdly high pop, I really don't get the choice of cleaning up the bodies. Like, I would literally spend every single day doing nothing but cleaning up bodies. I don't really want to fight this group or this group, but these are getting close enough that, because that's where I live up there right now, I don't want zombies near my home. So yeah, so we just split pulled, we grabbed 2, we kill them. You do, like, and I'm very careful about doing it at this point because, as I mentioned, this character is 0 to hero. So, you know, I do want to be careful about what I pull. My character's not good at fighting. They'll get there. We're actually okay-ish at fighting at this point. But we're getting there. Oh yeah, and one thing I will tell you, first thing you need to learn about Project Zomboid is you are going to die a lot. It doesn't matter how good, bad, or otherwise you are, you're going to die a lot. So don't get discouraged if you do die a lot. One thing I would recommend is, I know a lot of people don't like dealing with the time that, you know, you've gotten bitten or you've realized you're infected. You know, your run's effectively over. And a lot of people either suicide at that point, just, you know, kill their character, or they will set their world settings to instantly kill them if they're infected. I, especially early on, would recommend against that. Take the time that, okay, you're infected, alright, go grab your guns, you know, drive fast, do whatever reckless crap you won't do because you care about your character being alive. You know, go do that. Because you'll learn to fight ridiculous groups of zombies by throwing yourself at more zombies than you have any reason to be fighting. And just doing that a couple of times till you figure it out. And like guns, the only way you learn to, like, when to use guns, when not to use guns, like how to use guns, you know, quote-unquote safely, only comes from using guns. So, why not have one mistake, you know, you get 2 mistakes lessons out of it. Because you make your mistake, you get infected, and then you're like, alright, well, let's keep shooting guns until, you know, I've died. Yep, and you can also learn the lesson of how dangerous fire is once you've been infected, where you can throw a Molotov or set off a you know, fire in a house or whatever, and then realize how you set off a fire and it's like, well, I'm just going to leave Riverside because the east side of Riverside has burned down. Fire in this game, while very effective at killing zombies, actually I take that back, it's very good at clearing large hordes. It actually kills zombies exceedingly slowly. But it is a way to dealing with hordes. I believe you can have a campfire on the roof. Like I said, I haven't personally tested it, but I believe you can. Now, inside a house, I'm mostly sure bad things happen. Oh yeah, that's from Eagle Eye. Like, that's one of the reasons why I go for 0 to hero, is that I take all of, like, I've got, you know, Cat's Eye, which helps me sleep at night, Dexterous, which lets me loot faster, Outdoors, which means I can ignore a lot of bad weather, Wakeful, which means I don't have to sleep as much, Lucky, which means more loot, Eagle-Eyed, which means I have a wider cone of sight, Fast Learning, which means I level faster, Keen Hearing, which means I can see behind me more, Organized, which means I have more loot, and Thick Skin, which gives me a small chance where if I would take an injury, I just don't. But then I take some really nasty penalties that I can quote-unquote fix. Again, it's not a build I recommend. When I say the start is rough on this, I mean it is really rough to start. Because I start as weak, out of shape, and obese. So I have 0 fitness, 0 strength. I fight like a zombie or two and my character's already getting to the point of exerted at the beginning. Burpees help... Oh, for fitness specifically? Ooh, that I don't know. Generally speaking, every time I've exercised, I've just gone for burpees since it helps with both fitness and strength. But just fitness? I don't know. I wouldn't be surprised if they're the same between squats and sit-ups. It's just they have different penalties. Gotcha. Good to know. Thank you. I didn't know that information. So squats are the best for fitness XP-wise, from what I'm hearing from chat. So that's something I've never bothered worrying about because I gain my fitness by crushing Zombie Skull. Gotcha. I usually just have been doing burpees because I get a little bit of both. I honestly almost never do the fitness anyways. It's usually just when, like, oh, you're in a tropical storm. It's like, alright, well, I guess I'm not going out for 2 days. Sure, I'll do some burpees. Alright, we had someone hop in and drop a link immediately. Probably a bot. For a moment, I saw the R and just... that there was an AIT in there, and I thought, I was like, wait, Rubifate knows better. But no, it's someone Robotatus or something. Yeah, generally I actually don't worry about doing the actual fitness thing very often. Well, that's like, you'll watch that some... Hey, thank you so much for the bits.
Thanks for the tips, man. This is awesome.
Yep, I try and make it a channel where we learn stuff. So usually, like, most streams 2 or 3 times during the stream, I'll actually stop and, you know, go through, it's like, here's your options, like, you should set, you know, the standing on zombies, like, that kind of stuff. Today with the multiplayer, like, I was kind of focusing on, because they're all new, so it's kind of showing them stuff, talking them through things. Let's see. Oh, another thing that is a pro tip, one moment, is you'll probably notice most of the time I'm carrying a bowl around with me. That's because, low-key, a bowl is a very powerful thing to have on your person. I don't have anything I can put in at the moment to make a salad, but, like, for example, I could sit there and have, you know, stale cabbage. It's like, oh, the cabbage is stale. It makes me sad. Aw, that's a bummer. It sucks to be sad. Well, the magic of the bowl is if you right-click on it and choose Make Salad, and you use that same stale cabbage and you put it in a bowl, even if you don't add any other ingredients, no salt, no pepper, no other stuff, suddenly it makes your character happy. I don't know why eating a bowl of limp cabbage makes your character happy, but, you know, sure. But that's true with almost any vegetables, and even some meats, too. Like, one of the funny things is you can just put ham in a bowl and it calls it a ham salad. I'm like, alright. But let's be real, it's just ham in a bowl. But again, you can have not fresh ham, and suddenly it gives you a bonus as if it was fresh. And so that's the reasons why, like, where we're sad right now, I almost entirely ignore happiness as a mechanic. Because if I'm just carrying a bowl around and I have any type of produce or anything, I'm just constantly removing little bits of happiness, or little bits of sadness, like, at all times. Now, at the moment, I'm moving stuff, so unfortunately, I'm not getting the benefit, but that's not a big deal. I mean, the only penalty for being sad is your like looting speed and such is slower, and that's only really a problem. Like later on, I'll end up having multiple backpacks I carry, and there'll be times I want to quickly chuck my bag on the ground to fight zombies when I'm carrying too much, and that being slowed down can be dangerous. But that's really about the only time. Otherwise, happiness as a mechanic is pretty irrelevant. Oh, and you see I'm really close and like I might actually push myself too far, but I'm really close on my endurance from hitting moderate exertion, so I just switched to my knife. It uses a negligible amount of stamina, so I can keep fighting, whereas my crowbar, one more swing would have put me into moderate exertion, and then, you know, my damage starts sucking. And that's one knife broken, but I got a spare. I love to have hunting knives on me, ready to rock and roll. And you'll have people swear up and down that, you know, using a short blade is tantamount to suicide. No. Short blades are fine. The weapons I would say are tantamount to suicide is the sledgehammer and the wood axe. Because their swing speed, you know, you can just about take a week to write up how long it takes to swing those things. So like this pack of zombies, like that one would be fine to kill with the sledgehammer, but like this one, if they were coming at me, I would hit that one and that one could overrun me while I'm trying to get my hammer back ready to swing again. It is super dangerous to use the wood axe and the sledgehammer for actual combat. Plus, sledgehammers are so incredibly rare nowadays, you just want them for breaking stuff. You know, save them as a tool. And I've been told that animation where they go for the bite and you go for the stab can get you killed. I've never personally witnessed it. Not that I wouldn't believe the people who've told me, but I'm assuming it was under conditions where your attack speed is heavily penalized. Because I do that all the time and never been a problem. So yeah, we got our group migrating. I'm just letting them go by for the moment. We're right about to hit drowsy like any second now, so I'd just rather not deal with them if I don't have to. Of course, they're going to stop directly in front of us, so never mind. I guess we're dealing with them. Change of thought. I'm going to kill that one instead. Oh, they're going away. Cool. Because we are getting sleepy, and it's getting ready to be dark, I do want to get back over to where more of our supplies are, so that I can sleep. Because fighting while tired and all that is not a good time. Oh yeah, sometimes when you do the execution animation, you'll leave the dagger in their head. It's kind of annoying to just pick it up and re-equip it. One thing to watch if you're sleeping on the couch is a lot of couches, when it goes to how much fatigue it recovers, you're not going to get your full bar. Some will. So that's one thing to watch, and you can only see that if you're using minimal display bars. Otherwise, it's sometimes hard to tell what the mechanics are actually doing. Gotcha. I don't know the couches by name in regard to like which ones work, which ones don't. And also when we get to our location is I need to get myself a drink because mine has run out, and I will lose my voice if I don't. But yeah, you'll notice I'm walking almost there because, like, my endurance is basically not recovering at a meaningful level. Now, granted, as I get more fitness, that'll be less of a problem. The more fitness you have, the longer it takes you to actually run out of stamina, and the faster you recover. Another thing that a lot of people who are new to the game won't realize, Nimble here is low-key probably your absolute best stat for surviving combat. What that is when I have my weapon ready, that's how fast I move. So the reason why it's so amazing is if I have a bunch of zombies chasing me and I'm backing up, you can get to the point your nimble is fast enough, you'll swing, you'll miss the zombie, and they'll go for the grab, and you're already out of range by the time it completes the animation so that you're just safe. Like, at this point, I can't remember if it's nimble 1 or 2, that you're at a speed where as long as the zombie doesn't come from a side, you can just keep backing up and the zombie can never grab you. It's only when they come from the sides. That's not counting if you're swinging your weapon, because when you swing your weapon, you do delay movement for just a fraction of a second. So nimble is your get-out-of-jail card for just getting away with BS you shouldn't be able to get away with. And I think it's around somewhere around like nimble 5 or 6 that you actually move faster in combat stance than the slow shufflers. Do I want to sleep yet? We've read all the books here, right? There's no more books for us to read? That was... Yeah, we read all the books. Okay. Just in case a helicopter shows up while we're sleeping, give me the dog food. Give me all this food. Alright, the water's off, so our sink has run out of water. That's fine. We can get that sweet, sweet toilet water for not dehydrating ourselves needs. So that put me at heavy load. Alright, let's put the water bottle in. Oh, that wasn't quite enough. No, reading fitness magazines doesn't help, nor does the fitness TV show. Unfortunately. Like, I personally think it should be a thing that you can watch the TV show, and then it would allow you to exercise to it, and you would gain more fitness than if you weren't watching the show, but that's not a thing.